a link to the live. Paste it in the chat for the other one. Oh, what's this YouTube studio? Yeah, live, right? Maybe I should make a live public actually. Is there anybody on this one?
Not yet. I'm just looking for the chat for this one because I just copied a link. Hi guys, can you hear me? YouTube is, if you can hear me, can you say hi? Can you guys hear me? Oh God. Yeah, thanks. My YouTube, thank you for sticking by. Major technical issues, but we're here. So it's just the other link will not work, but people, I don't know. The other link is live. This one is live, but there's nothing on the other link. It's just YouTube being YouTube. How are you guys doing? Breathe. Thank you, Chisom. Oh, I don't like having technical issues. It just like freaks me out. Anyways, how is everyone doing? I know I've kind of like eaten into the time, so I would try as much as I can to make this go by so that you guys can kind of like ask any questions that you have in the question box. So I wanted to have a chat with you guys about programs. So I get emails all the time, but like, well, I finished this plan. So what's next? What's next? What can I do next? It doesn't have to end when a program is done. So you've done 21 days of dress down. The first thing you want to do is one, what is my next goal? So the very first thing to do is to establish your next goal. Is your next goal to continue to lose weight? Is your next goal to just eat healthy? Is your next goal to now translate this into like a family lifestyle? So when you're done with the LIN program, the very first thing you want to do is to ascertain your next goal. If your next goal is to continue to lose weight, you can continue to use that program. It doesn't have to be over. I understand, of course, we continue to bring out new programs because we want to give you guys more new recipes, newer meal combinations, and that's okay. But there isn't always a new program available. There isn't always a challenge to join. So you can always just reuse that program that you've just finished using if your goal is to continue to lose weight. So it's not like once you've done dress down, then if you try it again, it's going to stop working. It's never going to stop working. So that's one thing that I kind of want everyone to get into, like the mindset of when it comes to programs, it's not going to stop working. You can continue to reuse it and reuse it. If there are challenges, you can join challenges. If you feel like you're bored of the meals or you just want to try something new, you can get another preset program, or you can use the LIN guide to like create your own meal tables. But the fact that the program that you're on has ended doesn't mean that you cannot continue to use it if your goal is to continue to lose weight. So that is established. That's category number one. Category number two, assuming that you're like, okay, I just wanted to lose 4 or 5 kilos. I've already lost the 4 or 5 kilos. Now I just want to, get back into making it a lifestyle. One of the things that you can do is to just increase your portion. So the portions that are on the menu usually are kind of like reduced in a format that allows you to create a calorie deficit. So if you're no longer trying to create a calorie deficit, I always recommend, first of all, increase your portions by 50%. So say a recipe has 6 servings, that means now you're going to make it into it's going to become 3 servings. So you're eating a larger portion of meal. So that's always like an easy, quick way to kind of like increase your portions without really like getting into like the crazy world of like, counting this calories or counting that calories, right? Increase your portions by 50% and then just watch your weight. Did your weight go up? Did it go down? Is it static? If it's static, that means that that's a good portion for you. If it's gone up, that means that, okay, you want to reduce very stingy portions. That means that you want to reduce your portion a little bit more. And if your weight has gone down, that means that you want to increase your portion. So constantly listen to your body in order to understand what you need at that point in time. So those would be the two main categories of people that I have conversations with. And then I have conversations with people I think, well, I want to maintain this portion. I don't want to eat more because, my belly expands or whatever it is when I'm trying to eat more. And I don't want that because I've built this habit of like eating this portion. So what else can I do? A quick thing to do is to increase your protein. So protein is on carbs are usually the things that kind of like make us feel full and lethargic. But protein usually, it's just like you're eating meat, right? You don't really like feel like, I've eaten like I don't want to use I've eaten too much, but you don't necessarily feel like now I feel sluggish or I feel lethargic or my body is tired because I've consumed this large portion. So protein is an easy thing to do. So you can always just increase your protein portion by about 50% and by about 100% actually if you're not increasing anything else. So for protein, I'm thinking things like chicken, things like fish, and vegetarians like me in this family. That's probably where you go. That's the easiest place for me personally to go. I like meat. I like how I feel when I eat. Meat, not too much like I don't know, not too large of a portion, but I like that I have ample amount of meat to chew on and eat after my meal. So that's also a place to go. And then if you're the kind of person that you just want to increase portions for your family, so you're happy with everything, you're happy, you're done, but you just want to continue to maintain the meal tables because, it's easier to plan and you just want to like increase the portions for you to be able to meal prep for your family. So there are two options. The first option is for you to continue to weigh. So this is me assuming that you're no longer in a place where you're trying to lose weight. Is to continue to weigh, right? So you want to increase everything, you want to double or you want to triple the recipe. Just multiply everything by 3. So 1 tablespoon becomes 3 tablespoons. 1 cup becomes 3 cups. Okay. Christina, I'll get to that question. I'm almost at the end of my preamble and then I'll take questions. So 1 cup becomes 3 cups and then 3 cups, just triple the recipe or multiply it by 5, whatever it is that you want to do. And if you're like, I'm doing that, but then I don't want to portion out everything. A good trick, figure out the weight of the total lot of food. So assuming that you've just multiplied all of your recipes by 3. So a 5 servings meal is now 15, right? 5 times 3, 15 is now 15 servings of food. Weigh out the entire lot. So say the entire lot now you got 1.5 kg. You don't have to portion out, your portion of it to make like one serving. You can just say 15 servings is 1.5 kg. 1.5 divided by 15 is 150 grams. So your portion, hopefully my math is right, it's probably not, that's probably divided by 10, but you get my gist, right? So you have 1.5, you divide it by 15, and then whatever it is you get, that is your one serving. So you can just, when you're taking out a portion of your food, you can just make sure that you are sticking to that 150 grams or whatever the yield is, and the rest of your family can just continue to eat their meal the way they are, in whatever portion they want to eat. So I don't want you to get into this idea of, I am finished with this program, so shikena, I'm done. Next thing. What's the next thing? What's the next thing? What's the next thing? It doesn't have to be the next thing. It can always be that you're repeating your favorite meals of that program, or you're repeating the entire program, or you're just taking that program and using it as like a meal prep thing for your family. The goal of a healthy lifestyle is not one and done. It's not, I've gotten to my goal and I'm done. You still have to maintain it. People say often that, diet doesn't work because most people gain weight back. First of all, you're supposed to gain weight. It's normal, regardless of whatever lifestyle you've chosen, whether you're on LIN, whether you're not on LIN, whether you're just living life, whether as we age, we gain weight. That is normal. The rate at which we gain weight is what we're trying to lessen. So first of all, don't feel shame because you lost weight and you gained it. I always use this example that we cannot say gyms don't work, because if you go to the gym for an extended period of time and you gain muscle mass and then you stop going, you lose all of that muscle mass. So we cannot say gyms don't work because when people stop going to the gym, they lose all of their muscle mass. It's the same thing. If you want to change your body tone by going to the gym and lifting weight, you have to continue to do that for the rest of your life to maintain that muscle tone. It's the same thing with healthy eating. You have to continue to eat healthy for the most part. I've never preached eating healthy 100% of the time because that's just not realistic. But remember the 80-20 rule. 80% of the time, eat healthy in accordance with your goal, be it loss, be it maintenance, be it just, vibes and inshallah, whichever one it is that you're trying to do. Eat in accordance with your goal in a healthy way 80% of the time, and the rest 20% is when you have a cheeseburger with your kids, you have the French fries, you go to Dairy Queen. Just make sure that it's not the reverse. It's not vibes, 80% of the time and then healthy eating for 20% of the time, because that just doesn't work. 80% of the time, I like to do a Monday to Friday thing where Monday to Friday, I'm hardcore with like my portions and my meals and things like that. And on the weekend, a little bit flexible. And even when I'm flexible, I'm still conscious, right? So I'm not in a situation where I'm eating bacon and sausage, something for breakfast, and then in the afternoon I'm eating pounded yam, loaded egusi soup, and then in the evening, no. Even on the weekend, I still try to say, okay, I want to have cheeseburgers with my children, so I'm going to do that. So what does that mean actually for breakfast? Breakfast, I'm just going to have a green smoothie. For supper, I'm just going to have a salad because I'm having this heavy thing for lunch. So that's it. I've kind of like run through the things that I wanted to kind of like tell you guys about. Healthy eating is a lifestyle thing. It's not a one and done. So programs, you should find ways to incorporate programs into your lifestyle so that it's not like, now I'm done and then that's it. Okay. Please do put questions in the question box. Now I'll just go through and try to answer the questions that are here. This works. Okay. Is there a LIN program for diabetic and pre-diabetic? I like to work one-on-one with people who are diabetic or pre-diabetic, and here is why. Depending on the state that you're at, right? So if you're pre-diabetic, you've probably just got the diagnosis from your doctor and they're just telling you reduce your portions, reduce your fat, reduce your calories, try to lose weight. That, and then you're monitoring your blood sugar levels on like a flex basis, right? So it's not like you're monitoring every day. That is a different scenario than somebody who is diabetic. So they're medically managing it, and they have to eat a certain carb ratio to protein ratio per day, and they have things that are like spiking their blood sugar, and they have things that are not. Those two things are separate. So I would speak to being pre-diabetic. If you're pre-diabetic, the most important thing to do is to change your lifestyle, right? You just want to be healthier, which means eating healthier portions, cooking in a healthier way, increasing your vegetables, making sure that all of your carbohydrates are coming from complex sources. And when they're not coming from complex sources, you're comboing them in a way that allows for some type of complexity. So if that is where you're at, definitely I would say a program like Lean in 3, Lean Guide, the good starter point. But if you are at a point where you are actually diagnosed diabetic, so I'm thinking this is type 2, right? Then I typically would like to work with people one-on-one in order for us to figure out what is spiking their blood sugar, what they're eating, what they're not eating, what works best. It's definitely a very expensive collaborative process, but it's the best option, even if it's just for a month or two, in order for you to kind of like establish that protocol at the front end, and then it becomes easier to manage. So the first step to that is usually a consultation, which can be booked on loseitnigerian.com/consult, and then we move into it. Okay, I mix different days and different plans only because I like food in different plans but keep to same format. E.g., where I see white soup in one plan, I can replace with goat or fish pepper soup or made with lean recipes. I find that has worked for me. Yeti, I can see that working for you. So I would say one thing. One, you exercise. Two, you're not necessarily in loss mode. So that would definitely work because your lifestyle now is not like I'm just trying to be healthy. I'm trying to stick to a healthy way. I'm not actively trying to lose, right? You're not actively. So there is no conscious creation or calorie deficit in that process, which is awesome. I encourage people to do that as long as you know you're not actively in a loss mode. Early childhood. I'm presently on 50-day fast. How do I use Link Guide with this person program? So Omomi, you're on a 50-day fast. I would say I'll need some form of clarification on what kind of fast. So is it that you're fasting till 6 p.m., you're fasting till 7 p.m.? Is it like a white fast? Is it a dry fast? Like fasting, there are different kinds of fasting, right? There are people who fast and it's just like they're just giving up one kind of food. So I'm not eating meat, or there's dry fasting, there's white fasting. So what kind of fasting? If you're fasting in that you're not eating anything at all until a certain time of day, then we'll have to factor in how active you are during your fasting window. So are you still physically active, or are you the type that you're lethargic and you're not moving around as much because you're tired? If you're in the first category where your life hasn't changed, right? You're fasting, you're still doing whatever it is that you do during the day, you're still able to get some type of like physical activity in, then my recommendation would be to have 2 meals at the end of the day. So say, for example, you break your fast at 6, I would say have your first, whatever you choose to have, be it a lunch meal or a supper meal at that time. And then later, maybe like 2, 3 hours later, before you wind down for the night, have another meal. Usually a lighter meal is what I encourage. So maybe like a breakfast meal. So maybe like eggs and some and like toast or eggs and yam or whatever it is. That is typically what I would encourage. It would be the 2 meals, kind of 4 hours apart. At the end of your day is what I would recommend. If you're the kind of person that when you're fasting, you are tired, you can't move, your resting energy expenditure is significantly reduced in that process. That means that your body is not using as much energy as it typically does. So I just typically would encourage one meal increased by 50%. So you can choose a lunch meal or a supper meal and just increase your portion by 50%, and that would be that. Um, so yeah, and Yeti, I completely see that, right? Because if she is trying to lose and you're trying to maintain, then that would be kind of like different in terms of like approach, right? Because that conscious calorie deficit needs to be created when the goal is to lose. Okay, so I'll watch out for questions in the chat box. You guys, please put your questions in there, and then I will go through the questions that were submitted. So somebody said, my major issue is cooking for the family, also cooking my meals separately. So if there's a way that I can merge both and still achieve the best result, I think I use the rapid cleanse during a day fast, i.e. breaking at 6. I'm not sure that I understand. Can I use the rapid cleanse during a day fast. No, I wouldn't recommend cleansing and fasting at the same time. I would use a more robust program. I would use something like the dress down or the lean guide or the lean in three while you're fasting, just because those are heavier meals than the rapid cleanse. So somebody is talking about asking about prepping meals for the family. I would say that I kind of explained that earlier, but one thing that has worked for my family is having stew. So even if you're like, I want to make fried rice with not plenty oil and too many proteins. But your family members are like, I like it plenty oil. Make the lean fried rice. Make stew. Let them add. Most people are fine. Husbands, children, as long as there's something that can supplement that healthy food, they are happy to eat the healthy food. The easiest thing on the traditional Nigerian diet is stew. Always have stew at home. Have stew for them. If they're like, oh, this jollof rice, I need a little bit more oil. I need a little bit more meat. I need da 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 da. Have stew. Let them have stew. This F4 doesn't have enough oil, or the husband is complaining or whatever it is. Let them have stew around, have grilled meat around, and then just multiply your recipe by a factor of whatever. So a factor of 3, a factor of 4, a factor of 5. When you're done with the entire meal, when you're done prepping the entire meal, get the weight of your yield and just know how much portion you're supposed to eat. So that would be the easiest approach. How do you overcome binge eating? So this is a question from Toby, and I would say that it depends on what you're binging on. So binge eating has different sources, right? A lot of people is like an emotional response. So my first recommendation is always talking to a licensed therapist to figure out why you go for food. So for some people, it's like a childhood thing where when they were children, every time they would act in a way that wasn't favorable, their parents just responded by giving them a treat. So now when they're in like emotional distress, they just go and eat. That is not like an hunger response, is an emotional response. So working with a licensed therapist is the best way to kind of like figure out and have tools to deal with that, right? So again, is it an emotional response thing? Is it hunger? Is it that you're just not eating the kind of food that you like, so you're going to like binge? Seek therapy, try to figure out what it is, and that would make it easy to deal with, depending on what you're responding to by binging. It will make it easy to address and seek solutions that will help. What kind of fats are good, and how can I add more fiber to my diet? I would say good fats, a lot of people go to olive oil, or they go to coconut oil, or but at the end of the day, there's still a need for portion control. So to answer the first part of the question, coconut oil, olive oil, palm oil is healthy fat. The fat that is naturally present in like fish, wild caught fish, especially things like wild caught salmon, things like wild caught mackerel, things like wild caught herring. Those are healthy fat, but at the end of the day, there's still a need for portion control, regardless of how healthy the fat is. And then more fiber, I would say things like split peas in place of beans will have a lot. Split peas has a lot of fiber. So that's one thing I typically recommend, especially when I'm working with people who medically need to increase the fiber in their diet. Oat bran is another one. Flax is another one. So those three things would be like off the top of my head, things that you can add easily to your diet with a lot of fiber. What is the duration of the postpartum plan and how much? Is 12 weeks, and I believe it's about $60. Do I exercise to support my weight loss journey? I encourage exercising not for fat loss, but exercise because it extends the quality of your life. Exercise helps you to be toned, it helps you to feel energized, it helps to improve your life. So exercising for weight loss is a frustrating process because you exercise for so long. 1 hour, you look at it, you've only burned 300 calories, but that doesn't mean that exercise is not useful. exercise to improve your muscle tone. The more muscle you have, the higher your calorie expenditure when your body is at rest. So that's a good thing. And then it improves the quality of your life as well. You can go up and down the stairs without panting. You can sleep better, you eat better, you make better choices, you have better clarity. So definitely I recommend exercise, even though it doesn't translate necessarily to accelerated fat loss. It helps you in other indirect ways. Okay, I'm going to take a break from this. I'll look at the questions in here. For someone that travels frequently, every other week, what are some ideas other than ordering salad for each meal the entire week? Not easy to cook in hotels between meetings and long work. So I would say that it depends on where you are, to be very honest, right? If you live outside Nigeria, and I'm saying outside Nigeria because that's kind of like my frame of reference, most restaurants are legislatively required to have a menu with calorie information online. It's not always public. Sometimes you just have to say Panera calorie information or menu calories, and you'll be able to find it. So look at their menu and look at the calorie information that they have presented and find meals that fit into your goal, right? So that is one. A second option is to go plain. I think we actually did a course on this sometime last year. It's to go plain. So, for example, I tell people calories in rice is calories in rice, plain rice, right? When you're cooking jollof rice, there's so many factors that can affect the calorie quantity of that jollof rice. So when you're eating out in settings where you are not the person that cooked the food or you don't know how they've cooked the food, plain is always the safe choice. So I tell my clients, okay, I am ordering food. What should I order? Plain cooked rice, plain boiled yam, and a little bit of sauce on the side. You know what's in the rice. You know the calories in the rice based on your portion. You know the calories in the yam based on your portion. It's the sauce that is the ambiguous thing. So have that on the side and just try to control how much you're adding. So that's always so go for plain. I would say and abroad, I'm thinking abroad menu now. I would say that if you see menu option that is grilled fish versus breaded fish fillet. Breaded fish fillet already tells you it's breaded and deep fried, right? Whereas grilled fish is just fish that has been grilled. So there isn't layering of like unhealthy ingredients into that. So I will stick to that side of the menu. If you see grilled chicken burger versus what how do they put that on the menu versus deep fried chicken burger, do you know the grilled chicken burger is healthier, is a healthier option than the deep fried chicken burger? So just look for things on the menu that are plain, that are not necessarily like layered into fat. So not fried, not in sauce, not in batter, not in again, if you're looking at pasta, for example, if you look at spaghetti and tomato sauce versus like a carbonara that has butter and cream and all of that, like they're usually healthier choices on the menu. Just try as much as you can to stick to like the plain side of the menu versus the layered side of the menu, which is usually where you have all of the extra calories. um to be honest, I didn't really lose weight with the programs as much as I dedicated to it. So I would say I would need some form of quantification in that, right? So on your scorecard, what is the percentage that you were getting on your scorecard? Because sometimes we think we're really, really dedicated, but we're not really considering all of the extras, the a little bit of plantain chips that we've added, a little bit of peanuts that we've added, a little bit of juice that we've added. So the LIN scorecard is your guide to being conscious on a program. If you haven't been using your scorecard, I highly encourage you to do that because it helps to put things in perspective. So if you say I'm dedicated to a program, I want a scorecard number to be able to say, you know what, I got 100% this week and the scale didn't move. That is where I go, and that is what I encourage you to do, is to complete that scorecard to make sure that you're actually hitting that score, and then we can kind of get into it. So Joe Send me your scorecard for 2-3 weeks. I'll analyze them, and then we can kind of have the conversation about, progress and how to measure progress in relation to the effort that we're putting into the program. I used to be able to see the plans we had on Facebook. Have they been removed? Anyone who's joined Facebook in the past 2 years, I would say that there isn't really any extra plans outside of what is kind of like included in the program. If you were on Facebook 3, 4, 5 years ago, all of those challenges that we had, they are still there. Facebook is constantly changing what's available in groups, what they're making visible, what they're making invisible. Unfortunately, that's not like within our control as group owners. It's pretty much whatever it is Facebook, but everything is there. We didn't remove anything. It's just whatever it is that Facebook is playing with at any given point in time. Um, from LIN now, please, is corn kernel the same as sweet corn? Couldn't find corn kernel. Uh, yes, it's the same. It's the same. Just make sure it's not packed in syrup, or especially if you're getting canned one. If you're getting frozen one, it's just corn. But make sure that it's not. If you're getting canned corn, sweet corn, make sure it's not packed in syrup or it's not packed in sugar. It's mind blowing that food companies are packing corn that is already sweet inside sugar, but they are doing it. So just make sure. Yeah, but it's the same. Any trick for an eyeballer? Why are you eyeballing? Chisom, I'm going to fight you. We're going to eyeballing. Honestly speaking, let me tell you something. Yeti, congrats on your asparagus. It affects the smell of your pee, just FYI, so you don't freak out. Chisom, please see. Measuring is not something that you have to do for the rest of your life. It's something that you do for a period of time, and then consciously is like you're calibrating your brain. If you're trying to lose weight, it is so important to measure and weigh, because the size that your brain is telling you to have and the size that you actually need to have are very different. Please measure. Please, I'm begging you to measure at least for an extended period of time until you kind of like have a better understanding of what those sizes are supposed to be, and then you can move away from it. But measure, because it's important. I'm not disciplined. Please measure. Please introduce some discipline. It's not like you're doing it every time you're cooking, right? It's just when you're meal prepping. So try as much as possible, because there is honestly no trick to it. Eyeballing just doesn't work. I challenged myself to stop pop drinks this year, but aside flavored water with fruit, is it okay to take Zobo made with fruit and honey? Zobo made with honey and fruit is the same thing. I'm sorry. It's the same, because what you're trying to get away from when you're giving up soda is the sugar. That's inherently what makes soda bad, is the sugar. And unfortunately, your body cannot tell the difference from sugar that is from fruit, that is, especially when it's blended, right? If you're putting it in Zobo, it's blended, the sugar is taken out, the fiber has been removed, so you're not getting the benefit of that fiber that is naturally occurring in fruit that makes the blood sugar impact lower. So it's the same. Your body cannot tell the difference if it's like sugar, plain white sugar, or honey, or sugar from fruit. Sugar is sugar. The ability of the sugar to spike your blood sugar levels is the same. So I would say if you're going to replace with Zobo, I would encourage you as much as possible to stick to just Zobo. Zobo is start. It's delicious on the palate, honestly. If you actually get to experience flavored, just Zobo, ginger, cardamom, brought together. That would be what I encourage you. If your goal for taking pop out of your diet is to stay away from the sugar, which is kind of the point, I would definitely encourage you to go with fresh Zobo without the honey part. Okay. He said, confession on the measuring thing, we start the dress down again. I was shocked at how much an actual teaspoon of oil was versus my versus my own eyeball of oil. You know, the Nigerian brain, our brain, honestly, I wish I could see you guys on this chart. I don't think I like this YouTube thing because I can't see anybody's face. But I would say that the Nigeria, the way we cook in Nigeria is because every day is war. Honestly, every day is like you're going to, you have to eat because you don't know who is going to vex you in traffic. You don't know how long you're going to stay there for. You don't know where your next meal is coming from. So it's understandable that the traditional approach to the Nigerian diet is high calorie density in small volume of food, no matter how small. We're going for the highest calorie concentration. We don't have to do that anymore, most of us, because we have access to these things all year round. We have access to larger portions. We can afford to eat larger portions. We're also not constantly fighting war. We are not trekking. We're not doing farm work. We're sitting in AC. We're not walking anywhere. We're in car. So all of these things, our energy expenditure is drastically reduced, and we still want to continue to eat like our ancestors, our village family members eat. That those two things, you know, please, I encourage you to measure. It's very important, very, very important, honestly speaking. You don't have to do it forever. You don't. If you measure for 2 to 3 months, your brain will reset to where it needs to be in terms of measurements, and it will really, really help you long term. So try to do it. Well, Dami, I'm not saying that you should quit honey, but what I'm saying is sugar is sugar. You're you're not quitting sugar if you're just replacing sugar with honey. It's the same thing that you're doing, right? It's just you are getting sugar just from a different source. So you're better off saying that uh, I'm going to reduce added sugar in my diet by 50% or by, 60%. And instead of having 2 tablespoons of sugar per day, I'm going to reduce it to one. And just know that whether it's honey, whether it's agave syrup, whether it's sugar, it's still sugar. So you're not quitting sugar or you're not getting rid of sugar by taking sugar and replacing it with honey. You're just switching your source of sugar. So to reduce sugar, you have to reduce the sugar, but regardless of the source, that's what I'm saying. I wish we could see me when cooking. I keep looking at the plan, my sister. Yeah, measurement is important. Measuring is key. I weighed 100 grams of boiled plantain. Yeah, measurement is important. And remember, measurement is just to recalibrate your default setting. It's just to change your default setting. And then when you're trying to create a conscious calorie deficit, that's the way to do it. You mentioned split chickpeas. I think as better option to beans. If I'm wrong, just try. Yes. Yes. Split peas has more fiber, more protein than beans. I will show you guys if you don't mind, just so everyone kind of has like a visual representation. Just give me a second. I'll just grab it. So people often mistake split peas and lentils. They're different. So this is split peas. It's bigger, it's rounder. This is what I'm referring to as a better replacement for beans. Lentils is different, also healthy, but different. So this is what I'm referring to. It's split peas. And there are different colors of split peas. There's yellow, there's green, but this one. Yeah. So I will go through the other questions. Oluwatobi, how do I combine dress down better and fat blaster? You cannot combine two programs, so you can only follow one at a time if you're trying to lose weight. So yeah. one, do dress down and then do fat blaster would be the way to do it. What vegan substitute would you recommend for me? I do not. I'm not a vegan. I have not researched extensively in the vegan world. I've tried the vegetarian diet. Uh, there, when it comes to veganism, there are vitamins and minerals that are vital for human existence. So I'm thinking about things like calcium, for example. So it's not always a just take A and replace it with this plant source of B. The plant source of B needs to have the right protein ratio. It needs to have the right, micronutrient ratio. So it's not like a one-to-one relationship. If you're trying to switch from a meat-based diet to a plant-based diet, and there has to be extensive research and extensive work with the nutritionist, the dietitian, to help you figure out how to ensure that you're getting all of the right micronutrients in your diet. So it's not as easy as take goat meat and have tofu. It's a lot of planning work, it's a lot of research work, it's a lot of like micro matching to make sure you're getting. So I can't really say take dress down and this is what you're going to do to make it a vegan plan. There are like a lot more nutrition complexities than that. So it will have to be work that you're doing with a nutritionist or a dietitian, to figure that out. And then how can we tweak the meals in these plans to help for weight maintenance and muscle mass growth and eating our target weight goal? Again, those are three separate things. If you're trying to increase muscle mass while also losing weight, and also maintaining weight, like those are three separate things. Like it's not the same. It's not, if you're trying to maintain your weight, I would say get the LIN guide, calculate your resting calorie expenditure and build a meal plan that kind of fits into that program. If you're trying to lose weight, I would say if you have a preset plans, then just follow the preset plans as preset. And if you're trying to increase your muscle mass, you need to exercise extensively. You need to you need to lift weight. You need to lift weight repetitively in incremental phase. That's how you increase your muscle mass. And then you need to make sure that you're getting adequate protein. And that again takes you back to the LIN guide in making sure that you're eating the right macro ratio. So I would say for this question, I would refer you back to the LIN guide just for first 13 pages in calculating your calorie need, your resting calories, your fat loss calories, and your macros as well. And that's kind of where you start the work. So it's a lot of grunt work. It's not a preset button and it's done, right? There has to be some type of like effort put into that process. Okay, I enjoyed the LIN dress down program. I fell off. Okay, so about this question is regarding CS and belly fat. I think I've done a post on this before, and I don't know. I'm not a CS mom, so I know that I know a lot of CS moms, and I know that there's a lot of like emotional stress and stressors in that process. But I would say that if you're trying to lose belly fat, there is no the presence of belly fat is not different from somebody who went through CS versus somebody who didn't go through CS. Fat is fat, right? There's something called, I believe it's called a C-section shelf, which is just like sometimes they sew fat into the incision, and that's just like a thing. It's not like by itself, it's not something that makes your belly big. So I would say that the process to losing belly fat, whether it's CS or it's not, is not any different. So it's reduce your calorie intake as much as you can, exercise. I would say Body Fit by Amy is kind of like a good program on YouTube that has a lot of she has a lot of like exercises that kind of like geared towards, if you had CS or if you have DR or whatever it says. So exercise calorie reduction to eliminate the fat, and exercise to tone and firm. Because as moms, regardless of the type of birth that we had, there's tendency for us to push our belly out, and in pushing that belly out, we like the muscle is not as toned, right, which makes it look like we have a belly that is like this. So exercise, consciously sucking in your stomach, those are things that would definitely help you. But I would say exercise to improve the muscle tone, and then make sure that you're creating a calorie deficit in order for you to lose the fat. Okay. I think that's about all of the questions that are here. Sunflower oil versus canola oil, please. It's oil. There is no, there's no, I know there's a lot of like misinformation on the internet regarding canola oil and how it's like an inflammatory oil and it's A, B, C, and D. Canola grows outside of my house in the summertime. It's a beautiful yellow plant. The oil is extracted and is used for oil, right? Like there is no, I wouldn't say sunflower oil is better than canola or canola is better than sunflower. They're in the same category of vegetable oil, and what you should consider is what you're using it for and the smoke point. I know canola has a very high smoke point, so I typically stick to canola for things that like, so I'm trying to do for the family, or I mean for myself too. Or I'm trying to fry akara or something, I would use canola oil just because of that high smoke point. Would you suggest soaking sweet peas before cooking like we do with black-eyed peas? Yes, I would suggest soaking sweet peas before cooking, just because it kind of like gets firmer and it cooks quicker before you cook it. But yeah, it's a really high source of fiber, extremely high source of fiber. So it's a good one to go for. Okay. Yeah, Joe, please do complete those scorecards, and then I will send them to the email help@losenigerian.com, and then I will be happy to kind of like chat about setting expectations and things like that. Yeah, and then kind of like matching that with like effort that we're putting in. All right. I've answered all of the questions that you guys sent ahead of time. I've answered all of the questions that I can see in the chat box. Thank you guys for yeah. So if that was sufficient for her and it's not sufficient for you, then it would be to continue to it would be to continue to use the program to create more calorie deficit, incorporate things that help you to improve your muscle tone, making sure that we're getting 100% on that scorecard for us to continue to see results. Do you still have body program you mentioned last year? I'm not sure what that is. Do you mean on the Facebook group, or what body program? Can you clarify, you one day, what body program are you referring to? Like the body program that we have on the Facebook group, or which body program is that? Yeah, we have that in the program description. The program descriptions have range, and as with everything, where you end up is going to be 100% dependent on those scorecard numbers, and then it's going to be dependent on your metabolism as well. So it's not just if you do A, then you can expect to lose 4, or if you follow this plan, you can expect is how much are you achieving on your scorecard number. That is 100% number one. And then, what your starting weight is, as well as your weight range as well. Yeah, so the scorecard is still, I said the scorecard, the body on thing on Facebook, it's still there. You can still use it. So if you want a body, comment on the post that you want a body, and then usually we'll like pair people up. Or if say you're on LIN in 3 and then there's already somebody ahead of you that says they're on LIN in 3 and they're looking for a body, you can just buddy up with them. And then sometimes we will we'll pair people up if there is like somebody that requested earlier and then there's somebody that requested later. So it's still ongoing, it's still on Facebook. Where do I find the scorecard? Again, it's losenigerian.com// resources. I'm just going to get a link. Oh, yeah. Yeah, so it's losenigerian.com/resources, and then you have different formats of the scorecard, and you can kind of choose whichever one you want. And then if you want fillable format or Excel, whatever it is. Anyways, thank you so much, guys, for joining. I really, really, really appreciate, and I'm so sorry for the technical difficulties at the beginning. And I would try to save this as well so people can kind of like refer back to it. And that's it from my end, guys. Thanks for joining. Bye, everyone.